everyone, welcome back to Frenchies Bakery, and today we are going to be making a Mario cake. I think it's gonna be super cool. I don't know, it actually could be really hard, we'll see. Usually I have a plan for a cake, but today I'm kind of just going with it, so we'll see how it turns out. I'm also going to be making the little bomb guys in the video games. I'm going to be making some cake pops out of them because I have some extra cake, and I actually do not think that this cake is going to be big enough for the birthday party that I'm going to, so there's going to be some cake pops on the side. So if you guys don't want to make the cake pops, you can completely skip that step and just make the Mario cake, or you could just make the cake pops and completely skip the cake, or just do both. You know what, I'm just gonna stop blabbing and we're gonna get started on this Mario cake. Okay, so last night I did a few prep things. I made the cake, I traced out the fondant that I'm going to be using, and I actually just made this icing. So a lot of prepping was done just so the video is shorter and I can just get the explaining done with and we can just get this cake done. So I just want to show you guys what I did here real quick. I have a 9-inch cake here and a 9-inch cake here. I know it doesn't look like a 9-inch cake here. It's because I cut it. I also have one cupcake here for the 2 ears on the side. What I did was, yes, I made just one cupcake. I cut it straight down the middle and then I shaved off the top to make it completely leveled. So you're gonna just have 2 little ears here. And for the hat, I do have a 9-inch cake. I actually put this cake on top to trim it, to make it fit perfectly against the head part. And then for the little brim of the hat, I just shaved off some of the hat behind it just so there's a little hump there so it looks like he has a hat thing going on there. All I did was a bunch of shaving and stuff. It's actually really, really simple. I also traced out some things with my fondant. This is just a few of the things. Here is his eyebrow, his eyes. It's gonna totally fall apart if I lean it any further. And I have the rest just laying over on my counter. We will get to that later. I personally am not a huge fan of fondant. I would like to just eat my cake and icing, but for this cake, I do want to have kind of a 3D look. You can most definitely pipe on everything if you would like and not use the fondant. Just look at a picture of him and you can eyeball it, or you can print out a template. On Google, they do have templates of just about everything, and I know that they do have one of Mario. The reason why I did not show you guys all this is because I did do it freehand. I didn't use a template or anything. I kind of just took my time and played with the fondant, and it took a while, but I got everything finished, and I figured that that was way too much stuff to be filming. So you guys can just print off a template and then trace it and cut it out and do all that crazy stuff. It's really simple if you have a template. So just Google it, print it out, and then you'll have something very easy to follow. So I'm actually going to get started on putting on my crumb coat, and then we are going to pop it in the freezer. So let's get started on that. Since there is so many separate pieces like the ears and the head, you want to be very careful with this to make sure that it isn't going to move around and fall apart or anything. So we're going to be very, very delicate with this. I'm going to put a blob of my icing on. Actually more than that, and then smear it out very gently. Alright, so my crumb coat is completely cooled. Now we are going to put the red fondant on his head. So I'm just going to drape this over his hat, tucking it in. And then working its way down the side, just smoothing it. And I'm just gonna take a regular knife and trim the edge. Now I'm going to start icing the face. I used my white buttercream and I put in a drop of yellow and a drop of brown to make this perfect skin color. So I'm just gonna smear this out very gently, trying to avoid the hat, but getting as close as I can to the edge. Now I'm going to smooth it out with a paper towel. Just rub it very, very lightly, and the heat of your hand will make the buttercream melt and smear out to make it perfectly smooth. Now that we have his face completely smooth, we are going to start adding on the fondant. I'm going to start by adding on his eyebrows along with his eyes, and I'm just using a wet paintbrush to help the fondant stick. Now the mustache. He looks so weird without his big nose. We'll add that next. Here's his gigantic nose. Now we're going to add the M on his hat. I'm going to add some black squiggly lines in his ears just to give some definition to them. So you can just use some black icing to do this. our Mario cake is finished. Now we are going to move on to the cake pops.
It's me, Mario!
Now moving on to the cake pops. This is the extra cake that I have left over from the hat, since you carved so much of it off, and then the extra shavings from just trimming up the cake and making it look good. So you're going to have very clean hands and just break up this cake, and we are going to get that to a very fine texture, almost like small as sand. Once you're done with that and there's no more big lumps in it, we're going to add in some of our buttercream, and we are going to get it to the perfect consistency. You don't want it too mushy because it is kind of going to be like you chewed on it and spit it back out, and it's just going to be really gross. So you want to get it to the perfect consistency of being moist but not too moist. So we're just going to add in a little bit and keep adding in more. You don't want to add in too much because you can't reverse it. So once it packs together very well, you should know that it is finished. You do not need very much buttercream, so we're going to add in just a little amount and then mix that together. And it'll all come together to create one big ball, basically like dough. Now what we're going to do is shape these into balls and then melt our chocolate and add in the sticks, and then we'll get to decorating them. I have a tray here lined with parchment paper, so we're going to use a small ice cream scoop. This is actually a cookie scooper, and just scoop out our cake. I find that 2 scoops makes the perfect size. It's not too small and not too big. So we're going to form that together and just set it there, and we're going to do this to the rest of the cake. Once you're finished forming the balls, get any type of white chocolate that you prefer and melt it, and then we will move on to the next step. Now that we have our white chocolate melted, we are going to dip our cake pop stick in the chocolate just at the end, and then we're going to stick it into our cake pop. For this part, you can leave the white chocolate white. We will dye it black later when these are cooling in the fridge. Once these are finished, we are going to pop them into the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes. My cake pops were in the freezer for about 15 minutes. I dyed my white chocolate black. I did use food coloring. I know that's a big no-no, but I could not find the little candy melts that were already pre-made black. They were sold out. I guess everybody else is making bomb cake pops. What I'm going to do is just dip my cake pop inside the chocolate. I put it in a cup just because it's easier to put the chocolate on it. If you put it in a bowl, then you have to use a spoon. It's just messy and not as easy. So you just have to drip it in here, let the excess fall out, and then place it on your parchment paper lined tray. I have his face and his feet made out of fondant. You can use M&Ms and stuff, but I just shaped them into his feet, his eyes, and then the little fuse. You can put the little wind-up thing on his back. You can use a pretzel, but I did not get pretzels, so I'm going to skip that step. It's okay, it's in the back. People won't be looking anyways. So I'm going to stick the fuse in at the top here, right where we made that line earlier. And then I'm gonna put on his little feet and then his eyes. And there you have it, the little Bob-omb. I don't think you can see his feet, but he's drying, so I'm not gonna touch him. I'm going to finish these up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to tag me in pictures if you do the Mario cake or these Bob-ombs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Bye.